was such a good talk. I was so engrossed in it. I don't know where Sarah's gone now, but right behind me. Hi, Sarah. I was so engrossed. I was thinking, right, you've got to concentrate because you've got to say something now. So I just find the space. Maybe you all want to do that too. Just find your place right now. Just check out the felt sense, what's happening with your shoulders. Maybe you can just feel your back against the seat. Even let your eyes just rest for a moment, because there's quite a lot of concentrating going on. There's quite a lot of energy. So just kind of re-find your place. Check out how you are. Maybe move around if you need to, have a little stretch. Do something. This has been a long session. I'll try and make this quite interactive just for the next 15 minutes. So yeah, my name's Rachel. I'm from Croydon, and my family for the last couple of generations are from South London. I actually now live in Wales, and I went there to join a permaculture community, and I was running the Permaculture Association at the time, and I took it up there, and I worked somewhere called the Centre for Alternative Technology, which is all about sustainability. I kind of felt like I ended up in Wales a little bit by mistake. I was living on a low-impact community in Kent at the time. I'd moved out of London. I'd been working in NGOs then, and I've been, over the last 20 years, been trying to find ways to effectively make change. And that's very much motivated from my experiences as a child. I've got a high ACE score. My family experienced homelessness and a lot of dysfunction, and at 18, I ended up doing A-levels, didn't really expect to, but did, and I was politicised by my lecturer there, and realised that this was about a system. This wasn't because we'd done anything wrong. And of course, there's a lot of shame associated with poverty and with those experiences. So I was really motivated to do something positive. So yeah, my experiences mirror a lot of what has been said in terms of how NGOs just replicate these systems that they're actually trying to address. And so what can we do? So my journey has been a long one, kind of asking those questions. And I think when I was about 30 then, a few years ago now, I started doing meditation. And that was to help burnout, like we've been discussing here. To help just see what's going on, to calm down, to kind of get a bit more perspective. But over time, my practice, and the whole of my practice has been less about doing something for burnout and more actually seeing, and this is, I was thinking, it's only 15 minutes. What is the takeaway point you want to kind of give people? And what I want to say with my experience and the research I've been doing, reading lots of very boring papers, as well as doing programs to test out theories, is that understanding our emotions and our internal states and working with them is not something that's just nice. It's not something that's just good for us. It is a political act in itself. Because thoughts and emotions are completely inseparable. So I really, welcome people talking about keeping spaces of, I think someone said about, someone keeping spaces of the heart in a meeting, keeping an eye on that. But actually, I don't want to separate it. What we think and what we feel are completely interrelated. And so inquiring into that, understanding how our minds work, is really key to making change, not just for us, but also in terms of the people we're dealing with. And in a way, what Sarah's work really speaks to is a little bit more understanding, whether or not, I heard a little bit perhaps in that, of how people work, what colours people respond to, and, how we're much more feeling beings that think. We're not thinking beings that feel. And that's very key, because that's just not true of us, that's true of the people we're dealing with. And so the fact that a lot of your interventions were on the felt sense is really key. So let me just repeat that. We are not thinking beings that feel. So that's what we tend to think. That's the assumption most of us have, is that we come up with ideas and thoughts kind of follow, and feelings kind of follow that somehow. But actually we tend to have a feeling which influences our thinking and actually influence the very texture of the thought and what the thought kind of comes out as. And also we talk about understanding. We talk about things like that. Sometimes I sort of how to kind of talk about this, but when we talk about burnout and we talk about trauma, and I've had my own personal experiences of those things, we tend to talk about them as broken states, which I'm also not sure is helpful, because actually our brain is really impressive at adapting. And people that have dealt with those things usually are much better. You know, they actually learn, they're actually better for it. And the things that brains do to deal with trauma and to deal with burnout are actually often very clever, like resting or, you know, starting to get angry, starting to get a bit, that's the brain actually doing a good job. So particularly because of where I come from, I don't want to be healed. I want it to be seen that what we've done, how we've responded, and when we're angry, or so I can feel myself getting a bit like agitated just talking about it. So coming back into my body, giving that space, that's actually a good adaptive state. It's something to be valued. It's actually something to be valued, not necessarily something to be healed. Because when I talk about it in that kind of context, something to be valued, I'm empowered by it. I'm empowered by my capacity to deal with all this. I'm not victimized by being broken and needing to put it in some way right, because I am right, because things are okay, we're doing well. So that's kind of my take home. I actually think how we define and understand our mind, how we define and understand emotions is key to political work. Just checking the time. So maybe I just want to ask you a question, actually. I want you to think about intuition. Now, there's a good one, isn't it? Because intuition, a lot of us run on intuition, or we've got certain ideas about intuition. So take a moment. Do you trust your intuition? Do you trust your intuition? Tell the person sitting next to you, do you trust your intuition? Okay, next question. What is your intuition? What is intuition? It's a bit quieter now, isn't it? Give it a go. What is intuition? What is it? What is it? Yeah, sorry. Thanks for asking. Anyone else not? Okay, so unfortunately I can't give you a lot of time because we haven't got a lot of time, and there's one other thing I would like to do. Hands up, what is intuition? Anybody come up with anything there, just quickly? A knowing, great. A gut feeling. Thank you. I'm sure a lot of people will fit with that. Instinct, so it's related to this instinct thing, yeah? So there's a felt sense in intuition, yeah? So there's a felt sense, a gut sense, a direction. You feel this direction, and there's a felt sense to it, isn't there? You believe something is right. Yeah, so wonderful, wonderful. So intuition, I think it's very interesting, because without intuition, we wouldn't be able to operate, because in order to make our decisions on a daily, we have to make a lot of decisions, like 80, 90 decisions a day from the time you get up. How do you do that? Well, a lot of what you do is you kind of have a felt sense. And what is that? Well, what we think that is that all our experience, all our history is kind of caught up in somatic markers, a felt sense. So put in a simple way, you got a decision about a coffee shop maybe in the morning on your way to work or whatever. You'll have a kind of felt sense that this is the right coffee shop to go to. And what's that telling us? That the last time you went to that coffee shop, over and over again, it worked. The coffee was good, the person was nice, it all worked really well. So you hold that as a felt sense, which then you can respond to quickly next time. So it's like a shortcut in your decision-making process. So that's great. But of course, because we're talking about a mind or a decision that's based on a felt sense, that's based on your history, it also has the potential to be biased, because it won't see new stuff. It will just be based, and this is what I'd really like to bring into the field, is that our mind is extended, it's embodied. Our mind is not what we think it is. And we need to start exploring that to actually start to address issues within our movements, within our organisations, and in the way we work with others. And I've got a couple of minutes, I want to put this around, I'm going to put this down. It's just another thing I want you to consider while I'm... Say to yourself, well, which is the lighter? You know it's a trick. B looks lighter to most people, I would say. What I'd invite you to do is try and fold the paper to bring those two squares together. What am I doing? Okay, I got a couple of minutes just to kind of invite into the field why that might be important. So our brain is not designed to see reality. It is designed to see patterns. It's not designed to keep us happy. It's designed to survive. And what does that mean? It means that we see things, we kind of make, our mind is more predictive than it is reactive. So our mind is very much based on our history, on our cultural histories, on our experiences. It's very hard, so therefore we kind of see what we expect to see, and this has huge implications for decision making, for unconscious bias, for the fact that those times you feel you're knocking your head against a brick wall because why don't these people do what's right? And it's often because they're seeing the world in a completely different way, and everything that you're saying to them is just confirming that they are right, because that's how they see the world. Okay, so I'm going to have to finish off, but really I'm bringing into the field that it's empowering, and it's a political act to start inquiring into what our mind is and everything we know about it through contemplative practice and through neuroscience, psychology, and all the sciences. So I invite you once again to find your seat, to check your internal state right now. Where are your thoughts? What is the felt sense? Is there energy? Is there tiredness? Is there hunger? There's that whole bit of research about judges when they, if you went for probation just before lunch, you're less likely to get probation because hunger affects the thoughts, because we're biological creatures. So if you're hungry right now, you might be hearing me in a different way. And I'll finish with that. Thank you.